public hasn't heard much from Rex Tillerson, but the Trump team reportedly did loudly.
Good.
Politico says the Secretary of State unleashed his anger at a White House staffer in charge of personnel with Jared Kushner and Reince Priebus in the room. The report says Tillerson's pent-up frustrations, quote, exploded last Friday. He reportedly yelled about damaging leaks from the White House and the, quote, torpedoing of his hand-picked nominees for the State Department. He did actually choose a few good ones, but they're gone. A transition source close to the secretary said, quote, Rex is a 65-year-old guy who worked his way up from the bottom at Exxon, and he chafes at the idea of taking orders from a 38-year-old political operative. The report says Jared Kushner called Tillerson's outburst completely unprofessional and urged the secretary's chief of staff to find a solution. Politico says the White House has been frustrated with Tillerson's management style because even the president's top aides sometimes have a tough time reaching.
Okay, that's just BS. I mean, it's total BS. And by the way, what Rex Tillerson did was not unprofessional.
No, it's too late.
No, it's not too late.
Well, I hope not.
What Rex Tillerson did was patriotic.
And way overdue.
And way overdue. This White House, because Donald Trump wants his son-in-law to be the de facto Secretary of State.
The guy with no experience.
And anybody that knows what's going on there knows that. He wants Jared to be the de facto Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So they have cut Rex Tillerson off at the knees every single day. They don't let him put in qualified people in the State Department. They're talking about slashing things by a third.
They have him doing little events with Ivanka.
Because they're thinking, hey, we don't really need a Secretary of State, which is basically what they've said. Jared's going to be running everything himself. So they are now have gotten to a situation, they said it, I'll testify under oath, they said it repeatedly. Jared's going to be the de facto Secretary of State.
Well, Jared's in charge of the Middle East peace negotiations.
And so,
heard that from the president himself.
What they are doing is they're actually slashing funding for the State Department. They're not letting Rex Tillerson get his people in, and it is causing an international crisis where foreign diplomats are not even calling the State Department anymore because they know they can't get answers there. They're having called the NSA. Rex Tillerson has to do this every single day. This is a man of substance. This is a man who's done great things in his life, Mike. And they're handcuffing him because they want people that have never done anything before in government running the State Department.
Well, first of all, there are key ambassadorial posts that are still unfilled. The few ambassadors that are out there are career diplomats, State Department diplomats. They don't have people to call back in the State Department because at the desk level, assistant secretaries of state, many of them are missing, Far Eastern, Middle Eastern. The entire administration, there's a gap in the appointments. Good example, the USS Fitzgerald in the South China Sea. Boom, crunch. No Secretary of Navy. There's no ambassador to Japan. It's incredible what is going on in this administration in terms of the work required to fill key diplomatic posts. Rex Tillerson is an accomplished 65-year-old guy who ran one of the world's largest companies, and he's been treated lately like a GS-12.
Donald Trump didn't put a patsy in as Secretary of State. He put one of the most important executives in the world in
and
Secretary of State, a guy who's run a company the way you run a private company. And he, I think, has hit his breaking point. And I think that quote, the pullout quote from the Politico piece, suggested it was about ego and he didn't want to take orders from a 38-year-old. To me, that's not what it's about. It's about a guy who wants to do his job and needs the tools to do his job and is not being given those tools. And he's not going to take it.
He has been set up, Mark Halperin, for failure. He's been set up for failure, and it's happening every day. They're not even letting him put his people in. After Donald Trump promised him that he would be able to pick people that were running the State Department with him.
The dynamics of power centralized in the White House, cabinet secretaries frustrated about personnel early on, that exists in every administration I've covered. The overlay here that's different is this White House, this president operates so differently, and not just because there's some White House aides like Jared Kushner who are so powerful, but the level of chaos, the level of undermining of people by tweets and other things, never been seen before.
From the president himself.
And senior advisors. And if you're someone like Rex Tillerson who's used to a corporate environment, it's amazing that it's taken this long for some of these cabinet secretaries to start to really change.
And Rex Tillerson, Mika, has been working very well with General Mattis, with Secretary Mattis. Those two are in constant communication.
Rational adults.
They're trying to work through problems, and yet they can't get the President of the United States to give them the people they need to make America strong, to make America safe. Because he's got this freakish idea that he's going to let his son-in-law run America's foreign policy.
The danger here, if you think about this administration, where's the bright spot for a lot of Republicans and where's the one source of reassurance for a lot of Democrats? You look at Tillerson, Mattis, McMaster to some extent. That's been it so far. If you start to frustrate, alienate, and potentially lose any of those people, the potential damage to the administration is hard to calculate because they are right now the one sort of thing that people look to and say, well, that's okay, that works all right. That looks like a normal government. Those are adults. They're in charge. We don't have to worry that much.
And they're actually making policy that counters what Donald Trump's doing.
We have a real.
So he's playing. This is really playing with fire for the reputation of the administration. I think in a lot of ways.
Everybody in Washington, in the administration, needs to look at this from, I think, a point of view where you're not lobotomized because you're sitting in there and you're so scared of him and you think you need to suck up to the president. You need to look at, like, any company, any big success. Let's say someone came into NBC and took over NBC and started tweeting wildly about people's appearances, bullying people, talking about people in the competition, lying every day, undermining his managers, throwing them out. The person would be thrown out. It's not normal behavior. In fact, there would be concern that perhaps the person who runs the company is out of his mind. These are legitimate concerns at this point. We have never seen anything like this before, ever. Is there any precedent in history in the United States of America? Now, yes, there may be precedent in some other countries. That's not a good sign.
You know, the administration will try to blame Rex Tillerson.
Yeah,
Quietly.
Here we go again.
But the fact is, Rex Tillerson knew who he wanted as his number two, and he wasn't allowed to have that person. That was months ago.
Elliott Abrams, way back when.
Elliott Abrams,
Damage is being
way
done.
back. And I have been told by 4 people in the administration over the past 6 months that Jared Kushner was going to be the de facto Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So you can, people can blame whomever they want to blame.
Maybe people want that.
But Donald Trump and Jared Kushner's idea has been from the very beginning
That he'll solve
that
peace
he
in the
would be
Middle
the
East.
Secretary of State, and they would just get somebody that would go around the world, smoke cigars with leaders, slap them on the back, but all the business was going to be done by Jared.
That's frightening.
Yeah. Coming up,
So,
you want more frightening?
So let Rex Tillerson do his job, or name Jared Kushner Secretary of State. You're either you're either Secretary of State or you're not Secretary of State.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to let you be Secretary of State, go home. You've deserved it. Have your retirement. Enjoy yourself. Hang out with James Baker.
this is
and let
humiliating.
him tell you how they let Secretary of States really work. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.